you managed to win without destroying their friendship. I don't care what you or anyone else says. I know you're a good person at least.
The old me would have done it in a heartbeat. No hesitation. If you knew about that side of me, would you still think I'm a good person? Would you still call me your friend?
This is the question I asked myself several times while reading Tomodachi Game. Could I stay by his side? And is Yuichi even a good person? Yuuichi Katagiri, a name that stands for manipulation, brilliance and mind games. From the very first moment he steps into the Tomodachi Game, his actions captivate, confuse and even terrify us. Is he a hero, a villain or something entirely different? The Tomodachi Game sets up an atmosphere of uncertainty and intrigue. You never truly know what's real or who's trustworthy, and the constant shifts in perspectives keeps you in the dark. This unpredictability is amplified by its gripping psychological drama, intricate character dynamics and plot twists that will leave you speechless. Today, we will dive deep into the mind of Yuuichi Katagiri. We will explore his greatest feats, unravel his mysterious past and tackle the ultimate question: is Yuichi a good person or a monster in disguise? Before we begin, this is a spoiler warning. Since I'm talking about Yuichi, I will talk about what happens later on. Of course, I'm not spoiling the complete plot and try to keep spoilers as little as possible, but if you haven't read Tomodachi Game, you should read it before watching this video. And now, enjoy it. At first glance, Yuichi seems like an ordinary high school student who just has it a bit rough since he's living alone and has to work part-time. Nonetheless, he's hardworking, kind, and values his friends deeply. A philosophy rooted deeply in his mother's advice. Friendship is more important than money. But beneath this facade lies a duality that makes him one of the most complex characters. Yuichi can shift between an empathetic friend and a cold, calculated manipulator in an instant. This dual nature, this internal battle between his human side and his psychotic side, is what makes him so captivating. This is also what differs him from other psychological main characters such as Iono Koji from Classroom of the Elite. While Iono Koji is a genius himself and outplays his opponents in any given chance, there's one significant difference between Yuichi and Iono Koji. It's the understanding of human emotions. Iono Koji, who was raised in the White Room, never learned about emotions, hence why he thinks of them as irrelevant. Meanwhile, Yuichi is using emotional manipulation as one of his main strategy, not to win, but to completely break his opponent like he did with Saika Kamishiro. Everything was going well for Yuichi. He finally saved up enough money for his class trip. But that was the beginning of a tragedy. The money from the whole class for their trip was stolen, which already took a toll on their friend group. However, without a doubt, Yuichi believed in his friends. This also marks the beginning of the actual Tomodachi Game, where we see the other side of Yuichi for the first time. In the second game, it looked as the revenge plan from Tenji Mikasa worked, but that's where Yuichi shows his other side. The moment Tenji started crying, he thought that he finally got Yuichi, but Yuichi didn't care at all. The only thing Yuichi cared about was Tenji spitting the truth. That was the first time in the series that I was completely hooked and fooled from Yuichi, which happened even more later on. Another moment where we could see his two sides is in chapter 103, where we see this conflict personified in a stunning visual. Yuichi, crying with one eye, symbolizing his fractured persona. His ability to feel genuine emotion while embracing a monstrous side leaves us question who Yuichi truly is. Is he a victim of his past or a product of his own choices? Yuichi's brilliance shines brightest in the Friendless game, where his intelligence and psychological insight outshines every opponent. From the moment Manabu utters the phrase, "Let's build nice relationships," Yuichi instantly formulates a plan to win. By leveraging calculated reciprocity, he manipulates the social dynamics of the group, making allies while isolating key players. This started directly when Shio Sabaragi entered the house and Yuichi acted cold towards her as if he never seen her before and directly put himself into this outcast position, which he uses to his advantage, since they needed to share the password with at least one person. However, what nobody except for one person knew was that one admin was among the players, Akira Nishizawa. That's the person with who Yuichi shared his password because he already found her suspicious. And he even forced her to kill herself on the same night, which just shows how cruel he can be and that he doesn't care about anything. However, That's where his insane emotional manipulation takes place again, since he also shared his password with several other players, which led them to believe that they would have the upper hand over him, just to be used as sacrifices for Yuichi. Till his last breath, he manipulated all of the players, thinking he chose money over friends, until finally Kei Shinomiya appears and tells everyone that that's not the case. And in the end, Sawaragi won the game because Yuichi sacrificed himself and no one ended the game with debts. This portrays the two sides of Yuichi so well. On the one side, he's the cold manipulator who pulls every string and uses all players as pawns in his way to clear the game. But on the other side, he saves everybody, sacrifices himself, destroys the whole Tomodachi game, which he created so that nobody else gets destroyed anymore. Earlier in the manga, in the prison game, we could already see how much ahead Yuichi and even Kei is. While everybody was busy placing the dominoes and thinking about the keys and who the actual werewolves are, Yuichi and Kei already teamed up from the first day while having their only actual keys. They began to create fake keys, orchestrates betrayals, and Yuichi even uses himself as bait to uncover the werewolf among the players. Yuichi's mastery over the game is so profound that even when he doesn't directly participate, his influence is felt everywhere. His understanding of human behavior allows him to predict and control outcomes, proving time and time again that he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Yuichi's ability to endure and overcome is nothing short of astonishing. During the weakling game, he allows himself to be tortured, losing all his nails, and enduring unspeakable pain, all without breaking, just for the sake of Yutori Kokorogi. So he rushed over there and took all this pain for Yutori. However, there you could also see his other side, when he forced Satoru Kuroki into the rock, paper and scissors game, and then being so hyped that he could cut his fingers after winning. It just shows the two persons who live inside the 17-year-old boy. The kind one who sacrifices himself for his friends, and then the beast who uses everything and anything to get his way. You must be wondering, how did it even came to this point, that those two personas sparked in this boy? Therefore, we need to take a closer look at his past. To understand Yuichi, we must look at his past. Raised by his adoptive mother, Yuuichi Katagiri, and mentored by the con artist Taisen Shiba, Yuichi grew up in a world of deception and survival. Taisen taught him the art of manipulation. Yuka always taught him that friends are the most important thing in the world and always told him friends over money. While Taisen taught him the completely opposite, he always told him money over friends. Hence why this little Yuichi came up with the original Tomodachi game, where they abused the illness of Yuka to get money from her friends, which were the parents from Yuichi's current friends. Also, what would happen to this little Yuichi if one of them lied to him? This duality in his upbringing created the fractured personas we see today. Yuichi himself acknowledged this in the friend murder game, stating that he feels both pleasure and regret when exploiting others. This conflict is central to his character. He's a man torn between two worlds, trying to reconcile his humanity with his darker impulse. Yuichi's actions often blur the line between good and evil. He manipulates, deceives, and even orchestrates violence. Yet in chapter 103, we see a different side of him. A man who recognizes his flaws and regrets what he has become. When trying to convince Reika Araya to leave her corrupt father, Yuichi doesn't use manipulation or force. Instead, he appeals to her humanity, showing genuine emotion and vulnerability. This moment reminds us that beneath his monstrous exterior lies a man searching for redemption. Yuichi himself acknowledges this duality, stating, "You would end up just as bad of a person as me." He's painfully aware of his flaws, and this self-awareness makes him more human than we might initially believe. Yuichi's entire journey is rooted in a question posed by his parents. Which is more important, friends or money? At first, Yuichi seems to side with friendship, But as the games progress, his actions challenge this belief. Is he protecting his friends, or is he simply using them as tools? The answer is never clear, and that's what makes him so compelling. Somehow, he always uses his friends as tools, like Tenji in the hide-and-seek game, where Tenji is on the verge of starving. However, he always manages to save his friends. Yuuichi forces us, the audience, to confront our own values and question what we will do in his place. Yuuichi Katagiri is not a hero, he's not a villain, he's something far more human, a character shaped by trauma, driven by survival and constantly battling his own nature. His story is a testament to the complexities of morality and the human condition. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing is certain, Yuuichi is a masterpiece of character writing. And now going back to the original question of this video, is Yuuichi a good person? Yuuichi definitely became a better person compared to his old self, because now he even sacrifices himself just for the others. He's definitely not a perfect person, no one is. Everybody makes mistakes, everybody has a different past and went through different stuff. What's important is how we handle the future. Do you learn from your past and your mistakes to avoid those mistakes in the future? Or do you not care and just keep doing the same stuff over and over again? Because if you do that and don't try to improve, then you're definitely a bad person. Even though Yuuichi had this fucked up past, he still attacks his old self and tries to overcome his mistakes to improve the future, so he's definitely not a bad person. If Yuuichi was able to overcome his problems and become a better person even after this awful childhood, I'm sure that you and everybody else are able to become better people as well. So don't dwell on your past and focus on the future. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Yuuichi Katagiri's character. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment your thoughts below. You've been watching Silent Pages.